What you are about to hear is not motivation. This is not self-help. This is a weapon, a mental hack so sharp it can either lift you above the ordinary mind or strip away the very thing that makes you human. Most people will never dare to use it. But if you are still here, listening, you have already chosen your side. Ask yourself right now, what if your emotions have been lying to you your whole life? Not because emotions are bad, but because they are loud. And when something is too loud, it drowns out what is true. Think back to the last time you called a decision logical. Was it really logic, or was it fear wearing a mask of logic? Think back to the last time you said, "I am sure." Was that certainty, or was it desire dressing itself as conviction? Think back to the last time you said, "I don't care." Was it calm stoicism, or was it your ego trying to hide from a truth it didn't want to face? If your mind is like a theater, your emotions own the speakers. They control the volume. They control the lighting. They tilt the stage. They make one thing look bigger, another look smaller. So the real question is not, how do I remove emotion? That is impossible. That would make you a machine, not a human. The real question is, how do I hold both emotion and truth at the same time? How do I carry fear without being carried away by it? How do I hold desire without letting it control me? There is an answer, and it is simple to say, but brutal to apply. Schools reward quick answers. Jobs reward predictable responses. Social media rewards emotional spikes. The result? Most minds learn to stay inside only one frame at a time. When fear takes over, the worst case becomes the only case. When desire takes over, the best case becomes the only case. When ego takes over, neither case is allowed to exist. Narrow vision feels safe because it is familiar, but narrow vision is blindness disguised as confidence. You become certain about a tiny slice of reality and ignore the rest of the map. Geniuses are not born with different brains. They simply use a different frame. They do not just ask, "What should I do?" They ask, "Where are the edges? What happens if everything breaks? What happens if everything works perfectly? And what lies between those two edges?" The moment you can stand outside your immediate emotion and hold both extremes in your hand, you have stepped into a higher level of intelligence. Not more information, but a better position. Most people live trapped inside a single story. When fear strikes, the mind magnifies the worst possible outcome until it feels inevitable. When desire ignites, the mind amplifies the reward until it blinds you to all risk. When ego steps in, both sides disappear and you march forward, confident but blind. This is why intelligent people freeze, gamble, and regret. Their intelligence collapses under the weight of emotion. This is where the contrast hack comes in. It is the mental weapon that cuts this trap apart. It works with two questions. They are so simple you might laugh at them, but they are so sharp they can change the way you see reality forever. Question 1. What is the worst that could realistically happen if I act? Question 2. What is the best that could realistically happen if I act? Notice the key word, realistic. Not fantasy, not doom, realistic. Why does this work? Because your brain is not really afraid of outcomes. It is afraid of uncertainty. It fears the undefined. It fears the shadows. It fears what has no edges. But the moment you define those edges, fear loses its power. The moment you name the prize clearly, hope stops being a drug and becomes a calculation. Say the questions out loud. Whisper them under your breath. Write them in your notes. Repeat them until they become automatic. Because when you ask both questions, your vision stretches wider than most people will ever see. Fear shrinks because you have defined its border. Hope sharpens because you have named its reward. This is the first step to meta-intelligence. Not more data, but a wider frame. The ability to see more of the map than others, to choose with clarity instead of guessing blindly. To the outside world, it will look like you are fearless. In reality, you are simply using a frame that most people have never been taught. Picture this, a high-stakes business meeting. Everyone is arguing. What if it fails? What if it succeeds? Everyone is trapped in one emotion. You sit silently, mapping both edges and the middle in minutes. Then you act. By the time they are done debating, you have already moved. Picture this in relationships. Most people avoid saying what they really think because fear screams at them. But when you name the worst realistic outcome, awkwardness, temporary discomfort, you see it is survivable. When you name the best realistic outcome, respect, deeper trust, you see the reward is worth the risk. You speak, you move, you lead. 2 questions, 2 edges, infinite. Now that you know the 2 questions, let's go deeper. Here is the 2-minute contrast protocol. Use it exactly as written until it becomes automatic. Step 1. Interrupt the reflex. 10 to 20 seconds. Emotions spike fast. Fear, anger, excitement, panic. They all rise in seconds. You must rise faster. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. And breathe out for 6. This slows your heart rate, lowers noise in your nervous system, and gives your brain space to think. You are not killing emotion. You are keeping the data and reducing the chaos. Step 2. Put the edges on paper. 30 seconds. Take a pen. Make 2 headers, worst case and best case. Under each, write 1 to 3 sentences. Keep it realistic. Example, career move. Worst case, 3 months of discomfort, small pay dip, must rebuild network. Best case, 25 to 35% pay jump, better peers, growth curve for future moves. Why does this work? Because the brain fears the undefined. Once you draw the outline, fear loses about 70% of its power. Step 3. Map the middles. 60 seconds. Life usually does not give you the very worst or the very best. It lives in the middle. Write down 3 to 5 outcomes between worst and best. Example, relationship boundary, mild conflict, honest conversation, temporary distance, stronger respect, no big change, but future clarity. When you do this, your mind realizes there are many possible futures, not just one. This widens your vision and calms your nervous system. Step 4. Weigh probability and impact. 30 seconds. Now give each outcome 2 numbers. Probability, 0 to 10, how likely it is. Impact, -10 to +10, how painful or valuable it is. Multiply them. This gives you a weighted score. Suddenly, you are not gambling emotionally. You are measuring reality. Step 5. Decide with tilt. 10 seconds. Look at your scores. If the top positives clearly outweigh the top negatives, act boldly. If negatives dominate, pivot or pass. If it's close, shrink the move. Run a small test. Take a short step. Get fast feedback. This turns decision-making into a science without removing your humanity. The results you will notice. Use this for just a week and the room will feel different. Speed. Decisions that used to take days now take minutes. You are not reckless. You just see faster. Foresight. You pre-calculate outcomes. While others react, you are already 2 moves ahead. Calm. Panic can't trap you. Hype can't manipulate you. You anchor yourself in clarity, credibility. People feel your steadiness and trust you before they even hear your reasoning. Pattern vision. You start to see that most wins live in the middle, not in extreme risks or extreme fears. To others, this will look like a superpower. They will say you are lucky or fearless, but in reality, you are simply mapping the edges before they even see them. The trap of over-optimization. But there is a shadow side. Every weapon cuts both ways. Push this too far, and life becomes an optimization problem. You stop living and start managing. Jokes turn into networking tools. Love becomes a risk/return calculation. Rest becomes ROI tracking. People become variables in your plan. At first, it feels advanced, like you have unlocked a cheat code. But then it hits. You are efficient, but empty. You are correct, but cold. You win decisions, but lose intimacy. This is the hidden cost of becoming too ruthless. You become the architect of outcomes, but the orphan of your own emotions. Red flags to watch for you. Rehearse worst case so much that you kill your own joy. You dismiss best case as naive, even when there is real evidence for it. You cannot decide without a model. Your gut feels silent or exiled. People start to feel managed by you, not met by you. The contrast hack didn't steal your humanity. You traded it for control. If you recognize these signs, you must take your soul back. The reattachment protocol. The answer is not to stop using the contrast hack. The answer is to balance it. I call this the reattachment protocol. Decide cold, live warm, make decisions with numbers, but carry them with heart. Draw your boundary rationally, but deliver it with compassion. Plan the move strategically, but celebrate it like a human being. If you decide cold, but never warm, you will win but feel nothing. If you live warm but never cold, you will feel deeply but collapse under pressure. The union of both creates mastery. Time boxing decisions. Cap the process. 2 minutes for everyday choices. 5 minutes for high-stakes moves. Why? Because overanalysis is just fear, wearing a suit. It is the mind's way of avoiding courage. Time boxing forces a decision into the light. Now that you know the protocol, it's time to make it automatic. Knowledge without repetition dies fast. These drills will hardwire the contrast hack into your nervous system until it becomes a reflex. Drill A. The 10-second edge scan. Whenever you feel a spike, a text from your boss, a sudden market drop, a DM from someone important, pause. Whisper the 2 questions under your breath. Worst realistic? Best realistic? Answer with 1 sentence each. Then choose the smallest intelligent action. Momentum beats rumination. Drill B. Daily middle map. Once a day, choose 1 meaningful decision and write worst case, best case, 3 to 5 middles. This will teach your brain that most life events happen in the middle, not at extremes. Your emotional system slowly learns to stop overreacting. Drill C. Fear flip. If you are naturally anxious, force yourself to write best case first to rebalance your chemistry. Train your brain that optimism is also data, not fantasy. Drill D. Hype break. If you are naturally impulsive, name the worst case first. This slows your adrenaline before you act and saves you from reckless moves. Drill E. The 30-day ledger. Keep a simple log. Date, decision, worst, best, middles, tilt. Actual result. After 1 to 2 weeks, look back. Patterns will jump out. Maybe you overestimate worst case. Maybe you ignore middle outcomes that actually happen most of the time. Update your internal map. This is how your intuition becomes wise instead of loud. Drill F. Relationship contrast. Before a tough conversation, run the hack. Worst realistic, defensiveness, awkwardness. Best realistic, honesty, respect, deeper trust. Middles, cooling period, recalibration, new patterns. When you enter the conversation, Your nervous system is calm. You speak clearly, not reactively. Drill. G. Money contrast. Before spending or investing, map worst, best, middle. If worst is survivable and best is asymmetrically valuable, test on a small scale. Expand only when results agree with your model. This turns risk-taking into a science instead of a gamble. Drill H. Creative contrast. When you are blocked creatively, worst case, bad draft, minor embarrassment. Best case, new angle discovered. Middles, 30% usable material. Tilt is almost always positive. Start moving. Most creative breakthroughs happen in motion, not before. Drill I. Weekly postmortem. Every weekend, pick 3 decisions from your week. Did worst case happen? Did best case happen? Which middle outcome actually occurred? Update your internal probabilities. This is how you make your gut smarter every single week. Drill J. Humanization clause. For any big decision, add one last line. How do I preserve dignity for me and them? Because intelligence without dignity is just manipulation with a better vocabulary. 2 possible futures. If you practice the contrast, hack with discipline, you will become frighteningly clear. Your mind will move like a blade through fog, silent, sharp, precise. You will feel as if the world slows down for you, while it stays fast for others. You will see decisions before others notice a choice exists. But if you practice it without balance, you will optimize yourself out of your own life. You will calculate everything and experience nothing. You will be right, but alone. You will win, but feel empty. The balance code. The final step is not just to use the hack, but to stay human while using it. Decide cold, live warm. Numbers protect you from chaos. Warmth keeps you alive inside your choices. Time box it. 2 minutes for normal decisions, 5 minutes for major ones. Do not spend hours circling fear when you can spend minutes defining it. The human check. Before finalizing a decision, ask, does this align with my values? If someone used this method on me, would I respect it? If the answer is no, do not throw away the decision. Refine how you will do it. Execution with integrity matters more than execution with speed. Re-warm rituals. Cold thinking chills the soul. After major decisions, bring yourself back to life. Call someone you love. Cook a simple meal. Touch the ground barefoot. Write 3 specific gratitudes. These actions remind your body that you are not just a strategist. You are a human being. Consult your gut. Don't worship it. Your intuition is not magic. It is your nervous system summarizing patterns too fast for words. If your gut screams against your rational model, pause and ask, what data am I missing? Sometimes your intuition is catching subtle cues your mind ignored. Sometimes it is dragging old trauma into the present. Investigate. Update either your model or your gut. Integration, not war. Leave space for inefficiency. Not everything in life must be optimized. Leave at least 10% of your life open for surprise, for play, for chaos. If you cut out all inefficiency, you cut out why cease.